Jane Sanders, the wife of Senator Bernie Sanders, went after MSNBC host Joanne Reid after she tried to use Jane to go after her husband. So this is some old-fashioned Twitter drama, right? Now, Reid was apparently in a Twitter conversation early in the day about the credibility of men in positions of authority starting to crumble amid a wave of sexual misconduct allegations and consequences against men in high-profile positions. Now, look, in that discussion, I think the premise is completely sound. I don't have any problem with that. I actually agree with her that, yes, the credibility of men in positions of power is starting to crumble. It is being questioned, and that's a great thing. Men are actually starting to be held accountable for what they do. Wonderful. I mean, for example, you got Matt Lauer, you got Harvey Weinstein, Roger Ailes. There's a lot of different men who have been accused by multiple women of abusing their authority. And because of that, there is a reckoning going on. And sometimes it goes after, it ends up hitting people that you thought you knew and that you like or you liked and respect. And that sucks. And it's tough, right? But such is the price of progress for women. And of course, at the end of the day, I don't think you can put a price on that. If you abuse your authority, I'm sorry, you're done. I don't care who you are or how much I liked you before, you got to go. You cannot be in that position of authority. Now, anyway, while I agree with her premise, here's where she goes off the rails. One of Reid's followers suggested that Bernie Sanders be used as an example of a credible male authority figure. Reid, however, disagreed. Now, I think he actually is a great example. He's a man who's been fighting for women his entire life. He's pro-choice. He wants to close the wage gap. He wants to ensure paid parental leave and child care. His policies are actually incredibly pro-woman. Wonderful. Now, Reid, of course, as I said, she completely disagrees. And she tweets out, I get that he has a hardcore following, but his own attitudes towards women, from his weird early writings to his physical dismissal of women in his presence, including his own wife, make that an incredibly dubious prospect. Huh. Now, wait a minute here. Dismissal of women. What is she talking about? Ironically, I am now going to dismiss her. Not because she's a woman, but because she's flat out wrong. Now, for one, Reid talks about these early writings, right? Of course, we're talking about the rape essay, right? This is that 1972 essay that Sanders wrote in a Vermont newspaper. Now, the whole purpose of this essay was to challenge gender norms. Obviously, it failed in doing so, or at least gave ammunition to people who are enemies of Bernie Sanders. Now, I can see how people could take what was in that essay as somewhat problematic. The one line that keeps getting presented is, quote, a woman enjoys intercourse with her man as she fantasizes being raped by 3 men simultaneously. Now, look, you read that and you're like, oh, that's cringy as fuck, okay? But that's also one line by itself without context. And when you take it without any context, it doesn't matter. It sounds bad. Okay. Now, Jane Sanders, she responded to that, and as she was, of course, named by someone who was routinely dismissed by her husband, by saying, quote, I didn't answer your biased reporting about Bernie during the last 2 years, Joanne Reid, but don't ever use me to demean my husband. Damn. She further says, I'm very happy and very proud to be Bernie's wife. Your perception couldn't be more wrong. Have you ever talked with him? You've never spoken with me. Jane, she doesn't have to. Look, she's already been instructed by her higher-ups to demean Bernie Sanders and progressives at any cost. Bernie Sanders and, people who support him, like myself, are threats to the establishment. Joanne Reid works for the establishment. She is part of that establishment, and what she's been turned into, and it's been really sad to see, is that she's been turned into a hatchet man whose rants against Bernie Sanders are borderline pathological. She has an intense hatred of Bernie Sanders and people who support him, people who are progressive. She is not in favor of progressive policies. Medicare for all, the fight for 15. she has shown that she is against those very same things that would actually lift not only women up, but African American women, African American men, people in general. And by fighting against Sanders and the progressive, and his progressive supporters, you're fighting against progress. You can't call yourself a progressive if you're not in favor of progress on these issues, if you're not in favor of these issues. Now, look, if you want to take a slower approach to those issues to eventually get there, I guess I could understand that, even though that's not my position. I think we need bold, radical change. She's not even doing that. She's taking the corporatist position, and she's shilling for the establishment. And so it's very, very sad, too, to see somebody who's talented and who has a significant following devolve into somebody who's basically does bullshit establishment hackery. Very, very sad. But look, this is what happens when you rock the boat and you go after those people in power. When you go after the establishment, they use whatever they can to target you. And look, there is some good news to this, right? And that's that these attacks are not working. Bernie Sanders is still the most popular politician in America. His net favorable ratings are higher than the Democratic Party. They're higher than Hillary Clinton. They're higher than Joe Biden. They're the highest in the country. Again, the most popular politician in the country. These bullshit attacks are not working. People are not buying it. And they're not interested in things, in establishment hacks like Joanne Reid. So credit to Mrs. Sanders for defending herself and her husband. And again, why doesn't Joanne Reid just sit down and have a conversation with Sanders instead of attacking him day in and day out? Why not actually have a conversation with him? He believes in progress. He believes in helping America. And I don't understand how you can't see that, other than the fact that you don't want to see it. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.